Yo, 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 welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Anything and Everything podcast. Dude, episode 5, Andor, came out. Sitting across the table from me today is my boy, Big Tim, a.k.a. the Dinosaur Man.
What's up, Jason? How you doing today, brother? Appreciate you having me on for this episode. As usual, as we continue our Star Wars series here at A&E, obviously produced by Colormatic Studios. Episode 5. On the surface, not much to talk about, but as you really deep dive kind of into each individual frame, each individual cut, you kind of start to paint a different picture of what's going on in the Star Wars universe right now. Like, different storylines are being progressed, and obviously characters are being developed, and future key partners are being introduced on literally a scene-to-scene basis. And essentially what this was is that this is another giant setup episode for the rest of the series. Your thoughts?
I agree. I think that, and I think we had the same reaction to episode 4 that we did to this episode, where on the surface we got done the episode, we were like, okay, it was engaging, it was pretty good, it was better than 1, 2, and 3, but it wasn't a lot to talk about. And then we looked over like the episode recap, we looked over some of the stuff that we saw, and we kind of just started to think about it and talk about it and write our notes. And it was just like we kept pulling shit on top of shit on top of shit, like out of the episode. And we're like, wow, there's a lot of stuff. And we still miss stuff that we're going to talk about here in a second from episode 4. But like you said, episode 5 does a great job at the world building and at getting kind of the entire future of Star Wars and connecting and combining the animated series to future projects and older projects. It does that very well. And like you said, it doesn't just say it outright. It puts little details in the background, shows little things, and that's a huge step to how Star Wars is different in other ways at world building than other franchises.
Yeah, I mean, I think to the casual Star Wars fan, this show really isn't doing you any justice.
Yeah, no.
Because you would pick up like a conversation between Mon Mothma and her daughter and her husband, and you'd be like, oh, this is just normal family conversation. No, there's actually a lot to divulge from that conversation that we'll get to later. But as like a Star Wars enthusiast like myself and Jason, you really just see different things on a scene-to-scene basis if you really follow the lore and you follow all these other series going on, because you'll start to piece together just giant, like, small pieces of a big puzzle.
Yeah, I think the big thing about this show, and it's something we might even start doing on our episodes, there is a lot of missable details, like small missable details. Like a couple episodes ago, when I can't remember the dude's name.
Who is it?
It's in my notes. Hold on.
Cyril?
I gotta find the
Cyril?
name. No, Skeen sneaks up on the other guy with the knife, the gun in the first episode, or whatever, in one of those episodes. And, he's like, blah, 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 Saw Gerrera. Like, if you don't know Star Wars, you miss that detail completely. You miss that reference to Saw Gerrera completely. And you're just passed over like, okay, it's just some dude. But, like, if you know Star Wars, you know that was a huge, like, detail drop. Like, that was an enormous detail that you can easily miss. And even for Star Wars fans like ourselves, like, we heard the name, but I couldn't catch the full quote. I had to go back and look it up. But like, that is a missable detail, and this series is full of those missable details, and more of them happen here in this episode, where they mention things in passing, and like it doesn't seem like a lot on the surface, but when you know what it is, it's a lot.
Yeah, or even like quick quips of certain conversations. Like, for example, I'm gonna give you kind of one of our quotes we have for later in the show. Mon Mothma says to her husband while they're in the car, hey, we're donating to another charity, which means, AKA, hey, I'm slowly putting more of our money into the rebellion, which if you don't pick up on that, that's on you, but, it's a pretty, to somebody else, they're just like, oh, it's just her conversating with her husband. Like, you have to know, like, if Disney's going to put the scene together, it's for a reason, and it's either to build a character or to further their storyline. They're just not going to put stuff in there just for, for eye candy, so to speak.
I think that's the big thing that this series does is that like we've known Disney and Marvel to do this in the MCU. Like there is not a single word of dialogue or background prop or costume that isn't intentionally put there, and Star Wars is moving in that direction, and that's really great. And that sometimes it comes off as fan servicey and as just like throwing something in there just to have it there. But in this series, it's done so well and so subtly that you don't even really realize it until you go back and re-look at it and say, "Oh wait, that was there." And a lot of that happened in episode 4.
Yeah.
And so
Sorry for this, guys, but we after watching it like 3 more times, we missed a significant amount of stuff, and we kind of missed actually what it really was. You know, we kind of hit on a couple of them, but we were just ballpark. You know?
Yeah.
We actually got some confirmation, and obviously just rewatching it. Like, obviously the Sith armor we thought was Sith armor actually was. It was based off of Starkiller from the popular 2008-2009 video game, The Force Unleashed.
Which that armor in itself being in the show, I mean, the realm of possibility that could open up to the character of Starkiller, I don't think they're ever going to bring him into canon. I really don't. At least in the timeline, in the spot in the timeline that he normally appears. I think he might show up in a different part of the timeline at some point somehow. But that opens up a huge realm of possibility with just that single piece of background prop. It's like, it's amazing.
And then you fast forward, I guess, like an extra 30 seconds, and then we introduce time travel to Star Wars.
Yeah.
You know, the world between worlds, you know, seeing those artifacts, which we thought we saw, but was confirmed upon a couple extra viewings.
Yeah, and
you know,
a couple screenshots I saw on Twitter.
Yeah, and then we have some, you know, Wookiee battle armor.
Yep.
We saw
the Mandalorian armor, obviously.
The Mandalorian we knew about. The mask.
Yeah, the mask. Yeah. Plo Koon's mask.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, I mind blanked on the name.
Yeah, Plo Koon. That
mask.
One is him having that mask is like huge because I believe it was in Legends or old EU content that mask actually has a huge significance after Plo Koon has it, and I don't remember exactly what it is, but anybody in the comments can let us know, or hit us up on Twitter or Instagram, DM us to let us know because you might know better than us, but I'm pretty sure that mask has a pretty big influence later on. So seeing it in this show is actually really, really. It's a cool Easter egg, and it's a really easily missed detail, but it's awesome to see it there. Love that character.
Yeah, and then we get like some other pretty cool things, that the holocrons, a Sith and Jedi holocron, which we see again in episode 5.
It's actually very heavily shown in that episode in the background. Like,
yeah, I mean, and
they frame it there for minutes.
Just to give you a kind of like a size comparison, these holocrons are about the size of a boombox.
Oh,
they're massive.
Like when you see them in all other Star Wars content, like they're a little bit bigger than your hand. Like they're a little bit bigger.
Yeah, they fit in the palm of your hand like a small hamster.
But in this, in the first live action appearance of these things, other than
you're essentially picking up a pit
sequels, other than the sequels, because there was a Sith holocron in the sequels.
No, it was a Wayfinder.
But it was inside of a holocron.
Oh, true. Yeah.
So like when you see it there, it doesn't look that big. But when you see it on this shelf, it's the fucking size of Luthen Rael's head. Like, it's enormous. And I'm kind of looking at it like, I'm like, as a Star Wars fan, it's throwing me off because I know the size of them. But I'm okay with it because it allows for so much more detail. Aurebesh written into the ancient lettering, written into the, scripture, written into the actual artifact itself, which makes it really, really cool to see.
Yeah, it's just he has actually just such a very interesting collection. I would love just like a short series on how
the collection.
Acquired the collection.
Dude, I would be so down for that. Like a little even if it was like a 10-minute short episodes of how he acquires some of this stuff. Because he also has a Kalikori, which is a ancestral collector. Not collector. It's an ancestral.
It's a family
familial
tree. It's like a
tree.
It's
for Harrison Dula's,
which is passed down generation to generation.
I forget the name
as they get transpire and get older.
I forget the name of the species that does it.
You're better at that than me.
I want to say it's Tigrotu, but I don't know for sure. So correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's Tigrotu though. They pass this down. It's a generational family item that they pass down, and they each generation adds something to the Calicori, and it's a wooden structure that's made with they carve out like images and stuff, and it's really cool. If you've never seen Rebels, you can look up the picture of it in Rebels. It actually plays a really big part in the final season. So, but anyway, we missed a lot of stuff from episode 4, and again in episode 5 there is a lot of stuff to miss, and I think we picked up on a good amount of it this time. But let's see if we can find anything that we missed. I don't think it's all here. Here's one that's cool towards the end of the episode. Our character, Serial, I guess his name is. I don't know the exact pronunciation there.
Yeah, we know how it's spelt. We just don't know how to pronounce it. But it's
looks like
Sriel, something along those lines.
So he has these really cool, and I mentioned it. It never focuses on them, but I mentioned it when we were watching. I was like, I want to know what those statues are, or those figurines. And they're actually confirmed to be clone trooper figurines, which shows that, you know, this guy has this attraction to, like, the powerful,
like authority
figures in the galaxy, which we'll tie back into that later in a second. But, like, so much to pull out of this episode, and whether it's just cool details that I have written down or actual, like, stuff that is here to talk about.
We're gonna try to give you guys a little more structure and kind of just go from what we saw from the start of the episode to the end, so you guys can follow with us here, so we're not kind of jumping ship all over the place.
Yeah, we're trying to establish a structure here, and we're gonna get better as the episodes go on. It's just, it's difficult when you when you don't know what you're going into yet, until it's like we watch it, we have 20 minutes to build up our plan and then to record. So, so we're gonna start here with kind of some not as important details. Just some kind of little stuff that's cool to talk about.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, what the opening shot of this episode is, you know, our favorite mall cop, Serial, is sitting down eating cereal.
Yes.
It looks like
blue milk.
Some kind of like mint Cocoa Puffs.
Or Reese's
he's got going on with
yeah.
some nice blue milk that, you know, you can sample at Galaxy's Edge down in Florida, or if you're out in Cali.
In Cali, yeah.
But yeah, so he's sitting there just eating this meal, and his mother just kind of walks up, and she's just like, "You're not good enough. You don't have any career prospects. You are lacking in X, Y, and Z. And what are you going to do with yourself?" Because we can only assume at this point, you know, originally while he wasn't going to get fired, it seems as if he was let go, because he's back on Coruscant now. He's back on the the Imperial home planet. So I think, you know, his mom's talking to him, and she says, "Well, I'm going to call your uncle. I'm going to call your uncle." And I guess we find out later in the episode that the uncle works for the Empire, and you can kind of figure it out just through like context clues and kind of just reading the room, because as he's sitting in his room, kind of just reminiscing to himself, thinking about what he did wrong. He looks at a picture of Cassian. And
he pulls up the hologram.
He pulls up the holocron
Cassian.
of Cassian, and they actually do a side by side with Deidre while she's in the security headquarters.
Yeah.
And you can kind of draw a parallel there that these two at some point are going to link up.
Yeah, they're definitely going to link up at some point.
And maybe, you know, his passion for Andor and her passion for the Empire kind of get together and form a stronger manhunt for Cassian. Because obviously by the time they formulate, you know, we're going to be at the point where Cassian has raided this airbase or this
the
auxiliary
garrison.
hold, and it's going to be on the map now. You know, this is going to be one of the bigger rebellion conflicts since 19 BBY. So it's
this episode is really great, and when we got done watching, we were kind of like meh, but then as we looked through the details, we're like, okay, like there's a lot of cool stuff that happens, and I feel like we're gonna do that a lot in this series. We're gonna watch an episode and be like, meh, and then we're gonna go through the details and be like, oh, okay, I see what they were doing, and we're gonna grow an appreciation for it. I think by the end of the series, we're gonna be like, wow, this was a really well done series, and just like the character building at first seems really bad, and I feel like at times it can be bad. I mean, there is characters who we're building for no reason, we feel like, but the characters the character of Deidre Miro, who is the blonde-haired Imperial woman who you were just talking about, she gets a decent development here in this episode, and it's subtle, and that's the thing I think this series is doing really well, is subtle development of things and bringing stuff into the world building. She believes that this rebel cause is brewing to something bigger. And we talked about this in the last episode, she's right to assume that. It is brewing into something bigger. And she knows, and she's right. I mean, it's going to become something bigger, and I think you are right. I think Serial here, our mall cop, is going to, become kind of join forces with her to go after Andor and the rebel cause as a whole.
Yeah, because I mean, at this point, we are still 5 BBY. We're one as long as Disney stays true to its what it's been provided already. We're 1 year out from one of the former Jedi Masters being busted out from Mustafar with a combined rebellion attack.
Yeah.
And then obviously 2 years later, the full-on outbreak, Mon Mothma declares war on the obviously the Empire. So like I said, the Empire doesn't exactly know a rebellion's coming. They just think it's isolated incidents.
Yeah,
but
the majority of the Empire doesn't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of backdoor.
There is small people who do.
Well, the people that are obviously involved in, hey, we were attacked, but little do they know that all these cells are starting to come together, and obviously we're 1 year out from when the cells all officially come together for the first time.
Yeah.
The rebellion's coming, and Deidre's right. She's right. She's right on the money, and it's only gonna be a matter of time before the Death Star blows up.
Yeah,
again.
She's right on the money about the rebels being coming together, as we were dead on the money about Andor, or as we weren't, I guess, dead on the money about Andor being a sucky show, because Episode 4 kicked a notch up, and Episode 5 is continuing that trend for continuing to be a great show, or what could be a great show if it continues to go in the direction it's going.
I'm gonna call episodes 1, 2, and 3 the prequel to Andor.
Yeah, it's like the prequel to the prequel.
The prequel sucks.
Yeah, the prequel is ass.
But episode 4 and 5, which is essentially, I'm going to consider just a new whole series, fantastic. And
yeah.
I guess it kind of goes back to your earlier comments, the last couple episodes, saying that the writers intended 1, 2, and 3 to be its own separate arc, which it was. It truly was. Not that it was a very interesting arc, but it was good.
Maybe now that we know that we have to look for smaller details, maybe we do go back at some point in those first episodes and look for those smaller details that we didn't grab the first time, and just try and find something that there is, to talk about. But like I said, Deidre was getting a lot of character development, and in this, by the end of this episode, she's hitting the mollies, dude. She's hitting painkillers for something.
Yeah,
never really explains it, but
because we get a scene where she's obviously she's chit-chatting with her assistant, obviously pretty late at night, because she mentioned to her assistant that, hey, you should be on your way out the door. So it's obviously a little later in the evening, and they both kind of agreed, like, hey, let's go through 2 more files each, see if we can find anything on this rebellion, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then she sneakily just quickly pops some medication, whether it's pain meds, Adderall, prescription drugs, we don't know yet. Obviously, they wouldn't have put it there if not for a reason.
Exactly, and she intentionally does it while the assistant has his
turned
back
away.
turned.
Yeah,
yep.
And then obviously when he turns back around, all he sees is her taking a drink.
Yeah, she's taking a drink, and she kind of has. I don't know if you noticed it, and it might just be maybe the actress slipped up. She has a little smirk there, kind of like, oh, I got away with it. I don't know. Maybe it was just me. I don't know. Maybe I'm going crazy or just imagining something. But I thought I saw a slight smirk as she was taking her drink. But like I said, this series with some characters does a really great job of building the characters. But at other times, at least with the 7 that are the main 7 that are going to raid the garrison, it feels like they're building characters to kind of just build characters and push arcs unnecessarily for random reasons.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you a couple context, not context clues, but examples of this. Obviously, Skeen, he gets, obviously when he Andor wakes up from this nap, he immediately looks for his crystal. He can't find it. He can't find his effects. So he starts searching the camp, and he sees Skeen shirtless, kind of scavenging through his items.
And washing clothes, I guess?
Yeah, washing some kind of clothes or whatever. And, obviously Andor looks him up and down, sees the tattoos, and he goes, I recognize this, I recognize that. Well, I mean, Skeen kind of points out, hey, I noticed you recognize this. You looked right towards
saw
it.
you looked right at it, and you noticed it.
Yeah.
So this is, I know you know what it means, but this is what this one means.
So we find out they're actually jailhouse tattoos that Andor is actually very familiar with, you know,
Yeah.
and they kind of bond together for a second over like time in prison and obviously his, I guess, his connection to it, and it's fairly interesting, but it for characters that me and Jason here believe are going to die,
At least half of them are going to
yeah,
die.
at least half of them are going to die in this raid. If Andor sticks true to what it's supposed to be, a show about sacrifice, a show about the rebellion. You know, not everybody lives, unfortunately.
No.
You know, Saul Guerrero died. You know, we thought he was going to make it.
Yeah,
and
and
we
he
thought
dies, and I mean, at the end, Andor dies, Jyn
Andor
Erso dies,
Jyn
Galen
Erso
Erso dies.
I didn't. Cesario dies.
Like everybody dies. I mean, a show about rebellion and rebellions are honestly built on sacrifice.
Yeah, Obi-Wan dies, Luke dies, Han Solo dies, Leia dies. You know, we have all these deaths. So, you know, if we can kill off these main characters, Ben Solo dies. You know, if we're gonna kill off all these major characters,
Yoda dies.
But
that's
Yoda dies. You're right, but I mean, the guy was like 1,000 years old.
Yeah,
so.
but think about the thousands of Jedi. But I mean, at least the ones that we know, tens of 20, 30 Jedi.
Mace Windu,
named
Darth
Jedi.
Vader,
named Jedi that died. Plo
Sidious
Koon,
twice.
Ki-Adi-Mundi, Kit Fisto. I can go on and on about these guys. You know, Coleman Trebor, everybody.
So if these powerfully massive, strong characters can die, then who's to say these 7 bums, essentially?
Yeah, I mean, no names.
Raising goats in a deserted planet are going to raid a garrison and all make it out alive?
Yeah,
there's
unlikely.
no way.
Definitely unlikely.
So we feel as if like some of the character development just is kind of off. You know, I mean, we get some LGBTQT kind of hints here between.
Between Vel and
Kitma,
Sista or something. I don't know.
I can't remember her name.
One of those names.
But you know, we get
some
representation there.
Yeah, it's the I guess she's Asian.
You know, they're sharing a blanket.
The Asian
Indian,
lady, yeah.
Indian.
Was she Indian?
Yeah, Indian.
Yeah,
they're sharing a blanket. You know, which was a subtle hint that there's a romantic relationship there. Between the two women. Very very interesting.
Which honestly, and it doesn't bother me as much in this series as like it did in the sequels, when like it felt like they were trying to force like the Poe Finn thing for a while, and it was like really like it felt forced, even though it never happened.
Well, episode 9 specifically.
Yeah.
At least towards the end, and then all of a sudden, Poe's ex-girlfriend just shows up.
Yeah, I think that was kind of like a throwaway to like get rid of it.
And then meanwhile, episode 7, episode 8, Finn's trying to sleep with Rey.
Yeah.
And it was just weird.
The continuity there was thrown off, but at least it doesn't feel as forced there.
Yeah, well,
it was just a subtle thing. Oh yeah, they're sharing a blanket, so don't try.
There's 6 rebels, camping for months in a remote planet by themselves.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're
gonna get close.
You're gonna find somebody you're going to snuggle with at night when you're sleeping in a hammock and it's fucking 10 degrees outside.
Yeah, and
love's gonna find love no matter where it's at. But this seems more genuine than it would have been in the sequel trilogy.
Yeah,
the
definitely.
sequel trilogy just seemed it was off. There was no real chemistry there. So.
Yeah, I think that's the difference that we've seen in the new Filoni Favreauverse when compared to the sequels, is that they're taking time to build from the ground up and to do it slowly and to not force things, and they're building it just properly. Instead of just trying to shoehorn things in there, they're building it carefully. They're taking slow steps because they know that right now the Star Wars fan base and the Star Wars community is very, very divided and very, very split up. People love the originals, people love the prequels, people love the shows, people love the live action shows, people love the sequels. It's very split, and they don't know. They're trying to combine everything and do it in a way that everybody can be happy with, and I think that they're doing a stellar job so far.
Definitely, 100%.
Before we move on, guys, and to our next topic, we're going to take a short commercial break, and we'll see you guys back in a minute. All right, so before we hop back into the episode, I just want to give a quick shout-out to our production company, ColorMax Studios, for supplying us everything that we need. You can pick up a ColorMax Studios mouse pad or any equipment like that. You can also pick up hoodies, T-shirts. We have women's clothes. We have kids' stuff. We got anything you need for anybody in your family. Go ahead. You can pick up ColorMax Studios. We also have A&E merchandise if you guys want to pick that up. You can find all of these links on our Twitter as well as on our Instagram page. And, so let's hop back into the episode.
All right, so what I want to talk about here is I thought this was just a really cool thing, and
Dude, it was
I would
awesome.
imagine like if I was a fighter pilot, I would 100% do this at any given time, any given moment, just because I'm that guy.
Whether I was flying a tie or like a regular aircraft, I'm doing this.
So we see our rebels. They're sitting kind of in the valley, like they're marching towards
Practicing.
they're marching towards the base, getting ready to kind of get ready for their assault for the next day because the festival's coming up the next day. And all of a sudden they see a TIE fighter in the distance, and they're like, "Oh, he's gone." And all of a sudden the TIE fighter's like, "Fuck you, no, I'm not," and comes screeching by, barely be like 10 feet above like
The
ground
water.
level.
And you see the water come
And you
up.
see the
it's
water
Like,
fly up, and it's so cool. And meanwhile, I'm like,
it's
I
so
would like
loud.
that would be me,
Yeah.
100%
And
me.
it's so loud. And I think what's really cool, again, another missable detail, and it's such small, and it's a great job on the sound design by the sound team. You can tell that TIE fighters sound different on planets than they do in space. In space, you have more of that and in the atmosphere, they have more of like a louder engine-y hum where it's like and it's like a much deeper tone.
So I'm not sure if you are familiar with World War II, but Tie fighters, I guess their purpose and their design were kind of designed after the Stukas that the Nazis used in World War II.
Yeah.
So the Stukas were dive bombers and fighters. Now their objective, the Nazis attack, it was called Blitzkrieg. Lightning war, something fast, something to scare the opponent. So when Stukas would dive bomb, they had a siren in their propellers. So when they would come dive bomb, it would screech, and it's supposed to be like a scare tactic for your
Yeah.
opponent. Could you imagine being on the ground and all of a sudden you hear a TIE fighter flying over you, that loud ominous humming, that like like that would be like
Dude,
I
I'd be
I
shitting
was
my
generally
brains.
kind of scared. I was like oh shit, like this, like as cool as that was,
You get some chills. You're like,
yeah, it was. I was
"Woo."
like, oh, okay. So kudos to that for kind of designing the TIE fighters for scare tactics. Because obviously the
That's what the
Empire is
Empire
going
is.
around colonizing these planets, and they have to use shock tactics and fear tactics to keep everybody in line. Because at this point in time, the Death Star isn't around yet.
Yeah,
They
no.
just have these the Star Destroyers going around, kind of like scaring people. But these TIE fighters coming down, AT-ATs, AT-STs. Some of their bigger equipment.
Yeah.
Death Troopers. There's a lot of stuff that the Empire throws at these planets, and the TIE fighter is one of the scarier ones for sure.
Yeah, it definitely is. And like we said, that they were there, they were training, they were working, they were kind of getting ready for their attack on the garrison. And we see that Andor has an expertise in being able to, kind of blend in, basically. Like, that's how he stole the initial part, that he met up with Luthen. He's been doing this since he was basically a kid. I mean, he's been trained by, I guess, his mother and his, I guess, stepfather, I guess it would have
Yeah,
been.
I mean, he's been fighting the Empire since he was a young kid.
Yeah.
We see that flashback scene when he was young. And his buddy gets killed by that galactic trooper. So he's been at this fight for a long time. He knows how to walk like a trooper. He knows how to blend in. He knows how their formations look. Like
Yep.
he corrects the one gentleman on how he should be placed in the formation so it looks more natural.
Yep.
How Imperial Federations work.
And
I'm sorry, formations. I apologize.
And then she questions, and she the taller Tamer, I can't remember his name because that's the one we didn't write down. The taller dude, I just can't get his name. Yeah, see if you can find that for a second. But he's kind of like, why do you want to make this change? And he's like, no, we're not gonna make that change. You're gonna deal with it. You're gonna listen to me. And then Vel is like, oh, okay, like show me why. Show me why you want to make this change. And he explains it. And when he explains it, you're just like, holy shit, this dude knows like a lot. Like he really shows that he's an expert in blending in. And you kind of have to be when you're a rebel. You have to blend in. You got to be able to, change it. And they show it in almost every movie. In episode 4, you see them blend in to be stormtroopers on the Death Star. And then in episode 5, I guess they don't really blend much. They kind of just going guns blazing. And then episode 6, you see them blend in using camouflage to their environment. So these rebels have a way of blending in very well, and they show it again here. And there's also some, and that's that's one of the scenes that you see infighting within the group.
We have the leader of the group is Vel Sartha. Then we have Sintakaz, Arvel Skeen, Karis Nemec, Taramin Barsona, and then we have Gorn, obviously, Lieutenant Gorn.
You said Tamarin is the name?
Taramin Barsona.
Taramin. Okay, Taramin. Yeah, so that's the one that he kind of has an argument with. And he's kind of had a beef with him since he showed up here. Taramin not really liking the fact that an outsider shows up 5 months into the operation.
Yeah, it was he's been questioning obviously Andor almost the whole time, and obviously what's the gentleman Nemec?
Nemec, the young man.
I'm sorry. Nemec was the smart guy that was going over like he was the political ambitions of the Empire. But Skeen's
been
Skeen late in this episode surprises Andor with a knife to the neck. Later on after the marching scene. Because Nemec, not Nemec. I keep saying Nemec. I like that guy's name. Skeen kind of wants to figure out, because he doesn't believe Andor, a.k.a. Clem, what's going on.
Which is his father's name.
Yeah, Clem was actually his father's name, is Alias. So the whole time, Skeen's like, something's not right, dude. So he pulls a knife out, cuts the string, and finds the Kyber crystal around his neck. And he goes, this man's holding 30,000 credits around his neck. What's going on here?
Yeah, he's really like, man, like, why? What is his ulterior motive? Because there's no way this dude's walking around with, at minimum, 30,000 credits on his neck, and he has no other motive. Because, like, we're sitting here living in the slums, and he's got credits sitting around his neck. Like, there's something else happening here he's not telling us.
Yeah, so we find out, we already knew this, but the group finds out that Andor's just there for cash. He doesn't believe in the rebellion. He doesn't believe in, sacrifice yourself for the greater good. He just goes, hey, I'm here because I'm being paid, and that's the only reason.
Yeah, and that this happens after that whole argument. Vel kind of shuts down the tense moment, and then and then he just kind of blurts it out of nowhere. She's like, let's get moving, and then out of nowhere he stops him. He's like, listen, I'm only doing this for the money. Like, I really don't care about the rebellion. I just want my money so I can get free and get out of here, because I'm tired of this life. Like, I kind of want to get out of it with the money, which obviously we know that will not be successful as he dies in Rogue One. So then we find out, that the crew, we find out that they have no idea how to actually launch the ship out of, I guess, like the docking bay it's sitting in. Because they don't know the exact weight of the ship, and they kind of like press Andor like, yo, like, how much does the ship weigh? And he's kind of like, well, what do you mean? Like, why does it matter? Like, why does it matter how much the ship weighs? And they say, well, it takes like a propulsion system, and you need to put in the exact weight of the ship. Well, they don't know what it is, and they didn't know how they were going to figure it out. But because if Andor didn't show up, they were fucked. They were not going to figure that out themselves.
Yeah, they would just figure it out on the fly. But in a situation like that, where you're going into a hostile environment, people don't know who you are. You're gonna attract attention. Unfortunately,
you're gonna run into some blocks in the road.
You're gonna run into some guy, some hotshot stormtrooper is gonna be like, your credentials don't add up, and then next thing you know, it's gonna be a shooting gallery, and you don't want to be stuck there with your team trying to figure out how to fly a ship at the last minute, and then your whole team gets killed.
Yeah, and that's definitely like that's the attitude that I feel like this crew has, and honestly, ultimately, that's why they're gonna die. That's a huge reason as to why I'm looking at this team going, at least half of them die, because they're just flying by the seat of their pants, hoping everything goes well. And before Andor got there, he's already pointed out 3 or 4 flaws in their plan. They didn't know the weight of the ship. They were walking in improper formation. They have other things that they didn't know how they were going to get out of it, and he's just solving all their problems. And if he didn't show up, they were screwed.
Yeah, I mean, my initial prognosis on this plan is that they're just going to walk in there, see how it goes.
Yeah, it's definitely not. They went in there and were just like, we're gonna figure it out on the fly, and that's like you said, in a situation like that, you can't do that. It's just not how it works. You just can't.
No.
And if it wasn't for Lieutenant Gorn getting all of their information, they were basically just gonna go in there either way, whether he was there or not. I mean, they're just kind of crazy for it, man. But we know that Lieutenant Gorn. We get a good amount of character building on him, and what we feel may be unnecessary character building. He meets this woman, and because he meets this woman, he falls in love with this local Aldani woman. He actually loses a promotion in the Empire, and then not because of that, but shortly after that, in some way, he loses the love of his life, and then eventually after that, he loses his love for the Empire, kind of all in succession of each other.
Yeah, obviously there's no clarification on who this woman is, how he lost her. It could have been she was killed by the Empire so they could make room for this base. Whether they flew her off planet because they were pushing these people out, or it could have been something as simple as she didn't love him because he was with the Empire.
Probably.
There's a whole trove of things that could be true because of obviously what Lieutenant Gorn does.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most likely option is she was probably killed. Honestly,
I mean, knowing how the Empire operates, yeah, it's probably.
And they probably did it in front of him, and that's where he was like, "Oh my god."
Or they said, she's off-world, and meanwhile they put a blaster in the side of her head.
Honestly, that's probably how it went. But when we're talking about Lieutenant Gorn, as we kind of follow him around his day-to-day operations, we kind of start to figure out a little more about the Imperial base, and we kind of see the inside of it finally, and we finally get to see the payroll. That they're going to be stealing this quarter's worth of the sector's Imperial payroll, and we only saw I would assume to be a small portion of it. And holy shit, it is like barrel-shaped.
Just
rolls
rolls of coin or something.
Coins,
it
like
looks
Imperial
crazy.
credits.
Yeah, that's insane.
It was a lot of money, and they never specify how much. We know that Andor himself is getting equivalent U.S. dollars of 288,000 of these credits. He's getting 250,000, which equates to 288,000 U.S. dollars. So he's getting a shit ton of money for this job.
Yeah, this is just a mercenary they're pulling off the street.
And that's only, I can assume, less than 5% of what they're taking.
Yeah,
for one dude.
We're assuming that this amount of money they're stealing is to fuel the rebellion further, to fund the rebellion.
Yeah.
We need to figure out, because let's be honest, stealing, change out of a stormtrooper's pocket is going to pay for X wings, Y wings, A wings, and the whole rebel fleet.
Yeah, and blasters and medic
equipment,
all that.
The Hoth base wasn't built overnight.
Yeah, it really wasn't. But as like I said, as we're walking around the base, we see the credits, and then it cuts to a shot of the Imperial workers doing their work, and we find out that these Imperial workers, they report to Gorn, and they're talking to him, and they kind of express a sentiment that they want to be able to also see the celestial event of the Kyber, or the crystals exploding in the air, which is called the Eye of Aldani, I believe. And so, they want to see this, and so Gorn uses this as an opportunity to say, yeah, make sure that everybody who isn't essential personnel is on the surface watching the event. And he uses this as to basically a way to clear up space underneath the base for the 7 to operate in, or I guess the 6 without Gorn.
Yeah, I mean, it's really an ingenious plan on him, because he makes it seem like, I want everybody working, I don't want anybody seeing this.
Yep.
And then more and more of these Imperial workers are coming up saying, like, hey, we want to see this event. It's really a brilliant plan by Gorn. I really, truly believe without him and Andor, this plan would not go. I mean, we don't know how well it goes, but obviously Andor lives, so it has to go somewhat well.
Yeah, and it's like he uses reverse psychology on these workers here, like, oh, well, you need to be working, and then they're like, oh, but we want to see this event, and he's like, okay, fine, but it needs to be done at this day, and you can see the event, and like it kind of just. It's like he knew ahead of time that they were going to ask for this, and he nails it right on the head and gets them to say, yeah, sure, like we'll get it done, we'll do the work for you. And we'll do what we have to do.
Yeah, like you'll notice a lot of the workers are saying like this isn't a desirable post. This is
Yeah. The only
this
good thing about being here is we might be able to see
the
this.
event every 3 years that you might get lucky to see.
Yeah.
You were kind of talking about with the base layout. When you see Gorn on top of the wall, you see the machine guns mounted on the fence overlooking the dam, which looked really cool.
Dude, that entire dam, it's just when they show them hiking up on top of the mountain, and then you see them overseeing it. It looks so sick. It's so Star Wars, and it's just beautiful. That the entire valley that they're in, the mountains, the scenery, it's just beautiful.
Yeah,
That's the only way to describe it. It's beautiful.
It's definitely a sight to see. I'll tell you what, the Star Wars writers, and these people that put together these landscapes, they're definitely doing a hell of a job. It's beautiful. Really.
Yeah, and whether it's I know that they used a physical shoot, but even when it's CGI like a planet like Coruscant, it still turns out to be absolutely stunning. It's incredible, and if we're gonna be talking about Coruscant, we gotta talk about how this is the political home as of right now for the rebellion as well as the Empire, and the pretty much leader at this point of the political spearhead for the rebellion will be Mon Mothma.
Yeah, that's right. We talked about Mon Mothma earlier in the show.
Her daughter is a little bitch.
Yeah, I have to agree with the little bitch sentiment.
She's definitely a little teenager bitch.
She's just if they would let her say "fuck you," I thought that was coming out of her mouth.
Oh yeah,
pretty much.
If it wasn't Disney, she was saying it because she was already close to saying it, and it is Disney. And she was kind of just like, no, Mom, I don't want to listen to you. I don't want to go with you. I don't want to be around you. I don't care about you, basically.
I want Dad to take me. I don't want you to go.
And which is weird because she never goes, and later in the episode we see just Mothma and the dad there. So don't know if that was the same thing that they were talking about, but...
Yeah, or what exactly was going on. We never really figured out exactly what it was they were trying to do.
But yeah.
Yeah, the family seems really
dysfunctional. To say the least.
Her husband Perrin, he really just he wasn't supportive with the daughter at all. He wasn't like, well, daughter, calm down.
Yeah, he just kind of shut up and watched it happen.
What was it? Her name was Leia.
Lila.
I knew it was close. She was it's gonna be
Lita.
Lita, thank you.
It's hard to read that.
It wasn't like Lita, listen to your mother, spend time with your mother. He was just kind of she's going to talk to you however she wants to.
He kind of wanted it to happen, it seemed like. It seemed like they was premeditated, they talked about it before and they wanted it to happen.
They both kind of because silence is compliance. And the daughter Lita was kind of like, Mom, you essentially only care about yourself and what you want to do. I never agreed to this. It's been all about you lately. And I think that self-centeredness that she might be exempling to her family is her focus on the rebellion.
Yeah, and I was just about to say that her daughter calls her this selfish, self-centered person, and we know for a fact that is the complete opposite of how she actually is because she personally funds the rebellion. She personally spearheads the political aspect of the rebellion. She's the first senator to vocally stand out and renounce her role in the Senate, in the Imperial Senate.
And then ultimately she declares war on the Empire.
And she's the first person to declare war on the Empire. So, we know that this is the further... She throws away her entire life, essentially, to fight this fight. And so we know that her daughter is definitely in the wrong here.
Yeah, and outside of this point in time, we never see Mon Mothma's family. So we don't know at this point whether her family was killed for her rebellion. We don't know if the family disowned her and stayed loyal to the Empire. And we all know Perrin is kind of already an Empire simp as it is.
Definitely seeming like he's a simp imp.
We don't know if they were they went hiding. We have no idea what happened to this family. All we know is that there's tension in this family, and maybe the home front gets to Mon Mothma at some point. Maybe it causes a ripple, or maybe she slips up in her cover in the Senate. It could be interesting to see what happens. Obviously, they're already suspect of her if they have ever spies.
Yeah, they have sent spies.
Spies already after her, so who knows what happens next.
Yeah, Mothma is definitely. Good thing you touched on the spies because there are definitely spies, and Perrin seems like he acts like he doesn't know the driver's name. I think he actually does. I think he's just kind of asking her to see if she knows it because it's a new driver, maybe it's a new spy. He wants to see if she knows. And then she asks him, tells him, take the expressway, I want to get there faster. Kind of because he doesn't want to be in this conversation with her. And that seems like every time that they talk, he doesn't want to be present in that conversation with her.
No, there's obviously like a really big disconnect there. Even like obviously just in general, what husband to wife, husband, daughter, wife.
Even just person to person, it seems like there's just there's just no connect there at all in any connection.
There's no respect, no mutual respect.
Definitely
nothing.
not respect.
Not a thing.
And the other prominent person or thing that's happening right now on Coruscant would be Luthen. At the very end of the episode, we see Luthen. He's on the radio transmission, trying to see if there's a transmission coming in. And his assistant steps in and says, kind of, hey, like, you got to stop. Like, it's not, it's, the mission's happening now.
Yeah, like at this point, you put your little paper sailboat in the water.
Yep.
Either it's going to sink or it's going to float.
And you better hope that it floats.
There's nothing you can do about it right now.
Yeah, you're planets away. You're, I'm assuming, light years away.
Yeah, he has to, unfortunately, keep up an appearance on Coruscant to not look suspicious.
Yep, and he has to do it most likely with Mon Mothma. And I thought we were going to see this party or dinner party thing that was going to happen.
Yeah, that was discussed last episode.
But
yeah.
I think it might happen next episode. Judging by the pace of the show, it might happen the next episode.
Yeah, where maybe, the family splits and, because this dinner sets Mon Mothma over the edge.
Yeah, and
or
it might.
vice versa.
I just feel like the show is developing, and it's developing. It's for my liking a little too slow.
Well, you have
but it's
to
understandable.
Think too. I'm starting to understand why, though.
Yeah, I'm starting to see it.
This is a 12 episode series.
Yeah, we're on episode 5.
We're used to these 8 episode, 6 episode
bangers, like bang, bang, bang,
yeah, like every episode is jam packed with like, oh, okay, this is the shit.
Yeah, and there's no time for world building, story building.
Yeah, and this series, for what it's designed for, right? This is Andor. This is Andor's story. We have 5 years to cover.
Mm-hmm.
So they have time to really slow things down and show more complicated and more more detailed storylines.
And I think
that's what we're seeing here.
I think they've already even confirmed a season 2 for this. So that's even more time we have. Like you can even slow the timeline down even more now. Because I think it's been confirmed there's a second season. So you can slow that timeline even more down, stretch it even further out, and slow down how fast of your pace. And as a regular TV show, it's okay. I think for a Star Wars show, you got to be careful because you might lose the Star Wars fans. We're so used to action-packed stuff. Everything that we get is action-packed.
Yeah, I mean, I remember almost every episode of Mando, somebody's getting shot.
Somebody's getting shot, somebody's getting cut in half, somebody's getting blown up.
Yeah, same thing with Book of Boba Fett. Somebody's getting shot. Obi-Wan.
And that was even slow.
There's a lightsaber battle, or Obi-Wan shooting a blaster. There was always action in each of these shows.
Or Reva's cutting off people's hands and shit. Like, there has not been slow episodes of Star Wars that we've seen. Even in Clone Wars, there was always a fight. In Rebels, there was always a fight. In every movie, there's obviously fights. Like, we just have never had a slow-paced Star Wars story, and it definitely is going to take some adjusting to, but we're less than halfway through a series. Maybe it's us being overcritical of it, but I think we're doing a decent job of being less critical now after we've kind of started to adjust to the pace. And, I mean, there's really nothing else that we can, talk about. I mean, we've covered everything.
I'm going to leave you guys on one funny comment and then one cliffhanger for us to discuss kind of the beginning of next show.
Okay. That's a curveball for me. I'll take it, though.
First things first is these little goats named, by the way, the 4-horned goats, absolutely adorable.
Oh, dude,
their names are Dre, and they produce this nasty-looking bronze milk that apparently Andor is not a fan of.
Yeah, he thinks it's disgusting.
I thought it was hilarious as a big fan of milk myself, but that was the funny thing.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see that, like, there's blue milk. We know that there's green milk because in Galaxy's Edge there's also green milk.
Yes.
And we know that there is now this browny yellowish milk from goats.
Yeah, it kind of looks like consistency and color of eggnog.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's interesting to see.
Apparently, it's very high in nutrients because
He says you can live off it.
They
Yeah.
kind of laughed at the fact that he poured his milk out.
Yeah, and they said he says when he hands it to him, he says it's goat milk, and you can live off this basically, which is how high in nutrients it is, which is probably why it's disgusting.
And the cliffhanger.
Because you ever had a good protein shake? No.
Yeah, you're right. They're awful. And I think the cliffhanger I'm gonna hang you off on is Vel Sartha leaves the camp at night and says, "I'll regroup with you guys."
Yeah,
during the mission.
That was
so. Where is she going? What's going on? And maybe is she low key a Empire sympathizer?
Yeah, guys, let us know. We will have a question down the bottom. Let us know, why is Vel leaving the camp? It is interesting. Now that you bring it up, I completely forgot about that until you just mentioned it. Yeah, definitely
It's
interesting.
never discussed in the plan.
Not.
And she just kind of drops the bomb as they're setting up camp right above the base. She's like, "I'm out. I'll see you guys
Peace
tomorrow
out, y'all.
during the mission."
I'll meet up with y'all. Yeah, so definitely interesting. We'll see after we watch next week's episode what the hell is going on. And we will definitely see you guys again on next Monday when you guys tune into this episode. They release Monday at 11 a.m. every single Monday, and we record on Wednesdays when the show drops. So you got good 3 days to pick up the episode before you watch the newest one. And yeah, if you guys have not already, go ahead and follow us over on Twitter and Instagram, AE Podcast. And go ahead and pick yourself up some Colormatic Studios or AE merch. You can wear a nice comfy hoodie. I recommend the organic hoodie. Very, very soft, very nice. A little big fitting, so go for a smaller size maybe. But absolutely, great quality from, a great production team.
Baby, it's getting cold outside.
Oh yeah, it's getting cold. Pick yourself up a hoodie. I think we also might even have sweatpants. I might be wrong. I think we have pajamas though. I think we do have pajamas.
Yeah, I need you to tell your boss to hook me up with a beanie.
A beanie?
Yeah, I need a beanie.
Okay, I got you. I can
Yeah.
I can hook that up.
I can send
that.
I'm a big fan of the beanie.
I can send it up to the big dogs. I'll get you the right one with the good logo and everything.
I need listen, I'll kill for a good beanie.
I can get you a beanie. I can get you a beanie, a hoodie, pajamas.
I mean, I can use a good set of PJs too. I mean, I got.
I think it's a top and bottom set too, so you might even get lucky.
A double trouble there.
Double trouble, dude.
Got some socks.
We do have socks. I think we have low
really
like ankle socks. Yeah.
Are they like fuzzy? Like keep me because it gets cold down here in the basement.
I don't think they're fuzzy, honestly, but I'll let you know in a second. But yeah, man, guys, if you guys haven't, right now the shop is 15% off for AE products. You can go ahead and check that out. We got coffee mugs. You can get yourself some nice hot chocolate. Whatever you want to do, guys. It's just so much stuff you can look at. But definitely go ahead and check out, all that stuff. Check out our links. We post every week, like I said, Monday, 11 a.m. And, if you guys really want to check out anything, it's all going to be linked down below. Also, we're going to have a poll up. I don't know what it's going to be yet. I'll figure it out in post. But thank you all for listening to another episode of the A&E Podcast. We love you guys from the bottom of our hearts. We appreciate your listening and your dedication to the series. Any final words from you, my friend?
No, just like, comment, subscribe. Check out our Twitter and Instagram. Comment what you want us to talk about next. If you like the structure of the show and what we're doing moving forward. Always we're looking. We're looking to maybe start doing 2 nights a week, but we need something else to discuss. So maybe throw us down some things you want us to talk about in the comments. Me and Jason are kind of freaks when it comes to research and stuff like that, so we can definitely get some good conversation for you guys and our thoughts and opinions on things. So, like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you guys want us to talk about if we decide to move 2 nights a week, and we appreciate you guys coming out and listening to us.
That's it for us. Y'all have a great night, great day, great evening, whatever the hell time it is, wherever you're at. And we love y'all. Peace out.
May the force be with you.